Welcome back to the Back to the Future DVD commentary track for the 5th and final episode Out of Time. I'm Mike Stemley, designer.
I'm Dennis Lennart, director.
Becky Gammon, cinematic artist.
Kirsten Kennedy, associate producer.
Sean Finney, marketing media producer.
Varam Antonian, choreographer.
Andy Hartzell, designer.
Gray Rogers, concept artist.
And here we are starting once again with Marty asleep, something I think we did about 3 times
No,
in this
well,
season.
he needed to sleep. He had a very strenuous season.
It's a good way to start.
Yeah. And we put a speaker on this phone because we didn't want Marty to pick it up.
Well, and because Emmett would have invented a speakerphone, would he not? Here's a great piece of animation. Demonstrating conclusively that Citizen Brown is an evil bastard.
Or at least negligent.
Yeah, maybe you just didn't see him. That's right.
Or
There's a lot of deliberation on how much should it look like he was actually trying to kill him and how much should it just be...
That's true. At one point he did head straight for him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Before we the car skidded to the side.
we originally were going to do a very involved sequence in the downtown area with Marty chasing this static accumulator thingamabobby all over the place and getting pulled around like a water skier.
Yeah.
And then we said, well, we probably shouldn't do that.
And then there was a slightly less involved, and then there was an even less
a little
involved.
something.
Because we wanted to put it all in this insanely cool set.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk up front of are we going to put all the money and action in the expo, or are we going to do a big post expo action sequence? And then we wound up just doing everything that we initially planned.
Much too...
That was another song by Ron Lytle, by the way, that I just talked over.
And again, Andy ended up being the lead designer on the episodes with the cool music instead of me. I'm kind of bummed about that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Stanley trademark.
An anarchist, a foreign agitator bent on sowing chaos and destruction
And
in
this-
the Valley Expo.
I'm very happy with the name that Alt Doc chose for Marty here. It's a perfect 80s name.
I approve of all references to a Red Scare.
Yeah. Yakov Smirnov.
People love Jacques Duteau.
Do they?
Yeah.
This is Jared Emerson Johnson, I believe. Yeah.
It is indeed.
And then spoiler...
He does a very good French accent.
As opposed to Mr. Lloyd, who is doing some kind of very strange Hungarian thing.
He's the vampire diver.
Yeah.
And I forgot what Duteau is French for. Something like...
Actually, depending on how you pronounce it, it either means fish or it means shady.
Shady,
and both of them work.
I thought it was just... I thought the French translation was "sounds like Cousteau."
No.
That was also part of it.
We're very happy with that. Andy, would you like to, and Dennis, would you like to talk about this House of Glass thing?
Yeah, the Glass House puzzle was kind of a late addition to the design, and it began as a cardboard house that I was running around the office showing to people, and it's a little different from some of the other puzzles that we've done, but it turned out really nice. So largely thanks to Eric Parsons, who's not here today. And,
It's a very puzzly puzzle.
It is a puzzly puzzle.
Yes. And I remember, I think it was like, no, we're not doing it. And then you came in the next day with the cardboard mock-up, and then everyone saw it and we're like, all right, that's cool.
It's part of a grand tradition here at Telltale for things that are going to make people hurt to build is to ask for the designers to actually make mock-ups or to make sure that they get done.
Yeah.
And it maybe was a little
Cue
more
ball
difficult
setting.
to build than people thought. Yeah, cue ball's kind of small but impactful role in this episode.
Is that it? Was that it? So he got a little, he hummed as he was walking off because Varam actually had that in the soup kitchen in episode 1. And then, that was a huge part of that, and then it got cut at the last minute. So we've been trying to find a place to put it in forever, and Varam was like, "I think I can get it in this one."
Finally, I found a few seconds to put cue ball song into the game.
Here Marty gets to be kind of a badass again.
I felt really bad while I was solving this puzzle.
Good.
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
This is one of my favorite puzzles. It's the do nothing puzzle. It totally fights every impulse everybody has.
The funnest of them all.
Yes. Stand there and watch.
It's the go
you
make
can go
a
and make yourself a sandwich puzzle.
Players
that was actually pretty sweet water effects coming off that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Is that Peretta?
Mike Peretta.
That was Peretta.
Yeah.
Emma is so consistently adorable throughout the series.
There may be a moment coming up here if it's in the video.
He
Let's see.
just took that guy's wallet.
Yes. Thank you.
Everyone's favorite.
And that was a
Mike
bomb
probably didn't know about that till now.
No, I
insisted
saw
that
it.
that
I
would
played
be
through
it.
inside. Yes.
Ever since episode 1, I don't know why, it's like among like super Back to the Future nerds, for some reason the guy who says I think he took his wallet 3 times in the second film is like the most funny we've ever seen.
Yes, and another thing we absolutely had to insert into the game.
Yep.
Yeah, there were
I
a
was just
couple of those in
let's
this
cut all
episode.
the puzzles in episode 5 and it's just that line as long as you get it. That and a hoverboard. That was the 2 things.
And then he stops talking. The phone puzzle, we were real happy that we managed to get Marty doing a whole lot of silly jokes. And you will get I think a reward for doing all of them. I can't remember. But
You will.
Which is nice.
Watching AJ do a bad Christopher Lloyd impersonation was hilarious.
Although I think it was better than
Oh no,
I thought
actually
it was.
good.
so by bad I don't mean that he did a terrible job, but that it's supposed to be kind of like the cheesy version. And I
Well, the
remember
day
going in-
when we went and recorded pickups, and he had to do a few more of those lines, and Christopher Lloyd was there, and we all had lunch, and he was deathly afraid that
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd was going to be standing there and listening to him do Christopher Lloyd, but he left just before,
I
so he
was
didn't have to be
taking video
subjected
on my
to that.
phone for some of those, and then he was doing all the voices and getting into it and doing all the sort of doc-isms, and then at one point looked up and saw me filming through the window, and he's like, "This can never get out."
Well, it's in a video game now.
Yeah.
Station to answer a few questions about your whereabouts on the night of the Speakeasy fires.
And Edna stands revealed as the speakeasy arsonist, probably surprising about 3 people.
The 3 people who thought, "Oh no, they would never do anything that obvious."
But the fact that she was a pyromaniac was very surprising to me, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I thought we'd done a remarkably ham-fisted bit of foreshadowing there in the first episode when old Edna talks about the pretty flames.
We're always less ham-fisted than we think we are. I think.
Yeah.
He's going to play the accordion here. It's the little.
Didn't know he was a musician.
Barham, final thoughts on putting this environment together? I feel like the whole thing has gone by, and you spent so much time on it.
Yeah, it was definitely biggest environment I think we've had in this whole game. It, a lot of people working on it, but I think it came together in the end very well. Everybody's been pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I remember it going from the sort of problem area to all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh no, the expo's awesome." Like it just like QA, everyone you'd ask their opinion and they were like, "Oh, I'm really worried about it," and then a week later it's like, "Oh no, it's like super great. It's the best part of things."
Yeah, cool.
Maybe he'll give you a fair chance.
Although Kirsten kept threatening us.
I didn't threaten.
Yeah, let's talk about the clock, Kirsten. The clock.
The clock is ticking, Dennis. The clock is definitely ticking.
Well, Papa never really understood the younger generation.
Any thoughts on the back and forth?
On the back.
On the back and forth with this.
The
Yeah. I mean, I thought that this whole moment turned into something really, really nice between these 2 characters.
We'd kind of had been this sort of bubbling little C plot that had been sort of kicking along and was there in the first episode in voice only, and then mentioned a little bit from that point forward, and then we finally get a good look at him.
And the acting here is very nice, very kind of subtle. The little moment when Emmett suddenly realizes, "Papa loves me."
Starts breaking out into "Papa, can you hear me?"
But it's not too sloppy. It's not too sentimental.
What? How about sketching on this episode, Gray? Any thoughts?
Yeah, this was actually my first assignment here at Telltale, so they kind of threw me right into the fire. My very first day, they just said, "Oh, free concept artist, let's go," and
Good luck.
loaded me up with work, and it's.
Yeah, I think you jumped in and matched the style of the season incredibly well and quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's all pretty seamless.
yeah.
Well, now, and is it true that your first piece of art was the baby Emmett picture
I had
from?
done the baby Emmett photo from the previous episode. But yeah, very first day. I was doing that.
We don't waste any time.
No, not at all.
So rickety. Yeah, I think Jeff for adding that animation on it, going kind of crazy and look like it's about to fall apart, really helped.
I love this shot. Hi,
Yeah, it ended up being pretty funny.
The levitators are remarkably still enough for them to make eye contact.
That's interesting. A
then
flying car.
I put this bit in at the end. I don't know if anyone noticed it, and it's not on the video, so never mind.
You'll have to play.
It was sort of in the background as the doors are closing. You see the car starting to spin out of control.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I wasn't sure if anyone saw that.
Women drivers.
So this is an epic moment that Sean Ainsworth, who couldn't be here for the commentary, but did an awesome job on, which was one of the biggest kind of moments we knew going into this episode that was going to be scary, because it's also something like 16 minutes of cutscene, basically.
Yeah, counting.
Yeah.
But it's 16 short minutes.
Yeah, you know, they're eventful. They're jam-packed.
There's some clicks.
There's a few clicks in there, yeah.
But oh, good.
Yeah. So Alt Doc here is now both fading out because his future is no longer exist, and he's been run over by a car, so he's dying simultaneously.
But he goes happy.
Because he knows that the real him will end up having a nice happy.
And then
I remember giving you a hard time about the specific order of those events.
Oh yeah, that's kind of important. Yeah.
And then comes the moment that is for Dennis the central. We gotta give Dennis the floor now.
Yeah,
As
it's
this-
just basically the whole leading up to episode 5 for the longest time. I was just like, whatever happens, the moment where Emmett comes out, and we got to see his hair spiked. It's got to be in silhouette, and you think it looks like Doc, and then he steps out into the light and smoke clears, and it's Emmett. It's sort of the origin story of Emmett's hair, and that is my favorite.
Yeah, the whole season we've kind of joked with each other that it was all about the hair. Alt Doc has virtually no hair, and it's it's very tightly controlled. Young Emmett normally has pretty tight hair with little loose bits, and then Emmett, who's embraced his future, has crazy real Doc hair.
And it was a great moment. I didn't even see it till just a few days before the end of the process, and it gave me goosebumps.
Looks like he's got some whites in there already too.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He has
And again,
aged 10 years in the past 5 minutes.
Mike Prada with the effects again to make that smoke effect.
Yeah,
came
that
out
smoke
really
turned
nice.
out super awesome. And really nice.
One might be able to direct the ionic current simply by shifting one's weight. Oh, great Scott, that's it! Come on, there's no time to lose. Let's get back to the lab and... I'm sorry.
And then also I think like Lazar and
Please, Emmett, don't
Bass Sound and Julian and Damien really and Jared kind of making a lot of the sound effects in this stuff read really well. So much of these little moments happen off screen, or you kind of see the lights flashing out of the high school, and sort of getting the right balance of people sounding like they were amazed and now they're a bit horrified and something's kind of going wrong, but you don't know what.
Yeah, there's an awful lot going on kind of simultaneously in this scene, and keeping it all alive is a real feat.
Lazar's recording us right now. Hi.
Hi, Lazar.
You waved. People can't hear the wave.
Time would do irreparable damage to something. Just
Something.
say you.
Something. I like that line.
Okay, I
And
promise.
Marty trusting Emmett to keep a scrap of paper for 50 plus years, and not looking at it before 1955,
Wait.
when he'll see him again anyway, twice or something. Ow! Don't think about it too much.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
That's true.
somewhere we have a chart that maps out everything in perfect detail.
But the way AJ underplays this moment is priceless.
Yes. And the way it's animated. Yeah. Marty expects it to happen. Yeah. He doesn't even think that it's it.
Oh, it worked.
Yep.
I love that shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And
tie.
the Adam shirt or the Adam tie.
Yeah.
So good.
I had done a few variations of this. We wanted to portray Doc as the kind of psychotic professor character. Nice Hawaiian shirt and crazy tie. It ended up pretty nice.
Well, I think it's funny because I remember talking about like, oh man, science tie with like little protons and stuff, which was based off of for the episode 1 launch. Mike had a Star Trek die with faces on it, and I don't know why I was like, oh man, like Doc should have.
Because this is when he was dressing up for a ceremony, and that's what
Michael J.
Fox.
Oh my god. There's a backstory about getting Michael J. Fox.
But we don't have time to tell it.
We don't have time. Way too long. Basically, we were designing the 5th episode halfway through it, and Marking said, "We heard you're talking about trying to get Michael J. Fox for the 5th episode." We said, "We were talking about that 5 months ago, and then we forgot about it." So we scrambled like crazy to find good places. And we were writing this really complicated idea, and then I went home and my wife said, "Well, why don't you do this?" And we said, "Okay, that's a lot better, and we'll just go with that." We probably would have gotten there anyway, but probably saved about a week of us running around.
I remember you coming in, and like having that idea, and we were all like, "Oh man, that's perfect! You're a genius!" And you're like,
And
"No, I can't take credit."
speaking of Officer Parker here, it is Officer Parker himself, our lawyer Mark Barbalack, who was largely responsible for getting Michael J. Fox and going through the whole process, and
awesome.
props to him.
Yeah.
Did he do it as Officer Parker?
Yeah, I think so. I think he dressed in uniform and said, "You're coming with me."
Okay. I like in the end how after we've solved Officer Parker's problems again, once again, he's getting screwed over by the disappearing DeLoreans.
Sad. So sad.
This effect was great.
Yeah.
This is the kind of the one we wanted, like the whole season, like every reality completely changing around you, right?
Yeah.
And it was the brainstorm of our composer Jared Emerson Johnson to just cut the music altogether, and that was a great feat of scoring because it worked really well.
I remember him instant messaging me one day and be like, "Hey, so I put music in there, like you said." And I don't know, man. You should watch it without music. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I did because he was like, I did a version without music, and then we just watched it there, and I was like, oh yeah, so much better.
And as someone who's lived in the Sierra foothills for a good chunk of his life, I can attest that that's pretty much what it looks like when there's nothing there.
Juniper, is that what those things are?
Yeah.
And to give Michael J. Fox a little bit of props too, he. Super up for it. Like when he came into the studio, he was super good natured and had read through all the stuff we'd sent over and really liked the story. And he actually, like I was telling you guys, commented. He's like, "Oh man," he's like, "the lines sound spot on, like Back to the Future. There's nothing I want to change." We're like, "Oh well, perfect."
Then he came in and gave us a nice little bit of that
little bit of country
little
fried?
country NorCal accent to the whole thing. Which is great for little Willie McFly all grown up. This time at least he didn't pee on Marty. So.
At least not on screen.
Somehow I feel this is right.
Yeah. No. Okay then, let's go.
Sometimes you don't need words.
Well done, nod.
Yeah.
Kent did all that stuff.
The cabin sequence.
This is the
sequence.
The music.
Yeah,
this is so good.
The kind of Disneyland going into the Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing.
But even better.
Yeah.
I really wanted this moment as soon as we saw the carved out DeLorean that Brian Gillies built. I was like, "Oh man, you got to put grass throwing through the flux capacitor, and then we got to have like Doc look up at it and get sad."
Yeah.
And I think it ended up taking a while. I don't know why to get everything all set up, but yeah, once it did, it's cool. Brian did an awesome job on this environment. It's beautiful. Here we go. Here it is.
Who does not love a crazy old lady?
It knew it would eventually all get back to crazy old Edna again.
This was the sequence in the game that underwent the most changes during the game's development, and for a while there was a whole sort of California Gothic Spider Baby sequence in which there was a mutant Tana who lived.
That's awesome.
And eventually was changed into a completely different puzzle,
but a better puzzle.
Yeah, I know. I think getting the chance to mess with Edna is actually pretty fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. My first variation of this costume for Edna, I took Ryan Jones's original concept and designed the costume around this, and decided I'd have some fun with her face, and went pretty wacky with it. And
yeah, I remember seeing some of the stuff like your first sort of passive, like all the different options, and I look at it and like almost threw up a bit in my mouth, and I was like, I like it. What about you?
Everybody had an extreme reaction to those sketches.
Really nice.
And we went with it.
And she says
she is terrifying.
Yeah. She lights
Girl likes fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's
a pyro.
She's a wild one.
Yeah.
That can't smell good. Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's evil.
The read on that line from Christopher Lloyd about not being that passionate. It's like I died laughing when I heard that.
Happened like this.
But it did happen like this. Repressing it all these years because you can't stand to admit that you're
a hooligan.
Yeah, that's right. Edna,
Full
you're
circle.
a hooligan. and everybody drinks on hooligan. Yeah.
Yeah. Rebecca Schweitzer did not hold anything back.
Yeah.
In that role.
Here's the story.
And another newspaper, because it's really important that we have newspapers.
Yeah, I think Drew almost
we only did it to
inside
torture
with all the
Drew.
newspapers in this season.
I'm sure on the back it actually reads all work and no
You
play.
set me up.
One thing we definitely wanted to get out of this Wooly character was a nice hero moment, rather than just being a guy who shows up in a truck, and so we did spend a lot of time trying to go, okay, well, so what is he going to do here?
How much have you heard?
Evil monkey point. Sorry.
Could shoot you too, you know.
But you won't, because that would be against the law. And you never break the law.
How does he know she never breaks the law? I guess.
Okay, he goes out and talks to her. Yeah, he delivers stuff.
This is your cue to skedaddle. Right.
much obliged.
Peace.
Peace out, y'all.
Hey, Becky.
It won't matter anyway.
We'll turn this over to Gray and Becky.
Yeah, this was the first environment they had me just take over, sketched out all sides of this thing. So
it's good looking too.
And out.
And it was a challenge because it was an environment that had to be very specific in a lot of ways.
And Spartan.
Yeah.
That painting behind the bar.
Oh yeah, there's a quite comely looking female.
Yeah, a little hint of things to come.
Sagan.
Same question, Miss Pickford.
Oh, nice.
Beauregard Tannen. Nice. Of all the Tannens, I actually kind of like him the most.
Yeah.
He's kind of just...
You kind of want to drink with him.
I'm just trying to build a bar here, for God's sake.
Probably the most successful and legit Tannen there is.
Yeah, really the only one.
That's true.
Yeah.
First lady.
Of course, he's going to lose this bar sometime in the next 10 years. Because it's not his by the time the third movie rolls around.
Ah.
Oh, that
That was an effect that
pickles.
took 7 hours to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
look good,
pickles?
Yeah.
Because it's funny.
Why not? There was so much pickle
Pickles,
conversation.
the pickle barrel.
You know,
ending
putting
on
out a
some-
torch with whiskey is kind of dangerous. So.
Yeah. And
Becky, thoughts on showing or putting together the...
every time I framed a shot with Beauregard, I wanted to get that big horn set behind the bar. I wanted to get that right over his head.
I knew those would come.
And it would show up like in so many shots. But yeah, it was really fun.
And then this thing.
Nothing says awesome like a hoverboard.
Yes.
Yeah. And that also was not part of the original design, but I don't remember how. I remember when it occurred to we got to have a hoverboard in the sequence when running and telling Dennis. And then there's a hoverboard, and
I was like, sold.
The pupils in his eyes just kind of dilated. And
spent a long time trying to get this puzzle right, and then we also realized we can't have two cars disappearing at the same time because our engine would actually melt. So.
Oh man, that was over really quick, but Sean Ainsworth put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah, the actual puzzle takes a little longer.
Please know she hit the wall at 52 miles an hour.
No,
she's still alive. It's okay.
It's
not likely.
Do not hit a wall at 52 miles an hour.
Just don't hit a wall.
DeLoreans are amazing.
DeLoreans are stainless steel, which is why Doc chose it as a time machine.
Yeah.
So.
But it's
True fan.
Maybe the time circuit virus has slowly spread into the speedometer. Could be anything it's reading.
Sure you are. I'm loving this. Ready to go?
This moment kind of creeps me out a little bit.
Especially because we know where they're heading.
That's right.
And our goodbye to...
We're still not
Marty
entirely sure why they were walking out of the courthouse in the middle of the night. But that seemed...
What?
Yeah.
Marriage license stuff?
Yeah. Just finalizing the...
Felt like a little
blood
bureaucracy.
test. Probably. Filing...
Red tape.
If you want to marry a Canadian, there's more hoops to jump through.
Oh my god. I've seen you naked.
That's something I'm really happy we got in, Marty, having more extra Freudian issues.
Oh, jeez. Your marriage. You seem kind of mad about it back at the high school.
And is this going to be our last sighting of Michael J. Fox?
I liked how when we initially announced, showed them a little clip of Michael J. Fox, they assumed, yes, we're only using him as this random McFly from the past. It's like, yeah, that's what we would do with Michael J. Fox if we got him.
As for you, stranger.
And hopefully you've beaten the games before you start watching these.
Yes.
If not, stop now.
Yeah.
Play them.
Yeah. And there they go. Yep, more generations of...
Trixie's walk cycle.
This part right here.
I love the little feet.
That's
like she's
the
walking
other
around.
awful line. Hilarious. Oh man. Hey, here we go. The finale of craziness with
25 explanations.
Yeah.
We got a lot of plot.
And Myas. No, it was great. Like, I know when the idea was pitched, it seemed like a really fun way to end the series on the note that they ended the first film.
Yeah.
I think it was a really cool thing. And we stuck Myas, who also did a lot of the opening stuff in episode 1 with the mall, who is our sort of counterpart, Back to the Future, huge nerd. So we basically, I remember talking to him and going like, okay, so on episode 5 you're helping out, right? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, cool. How would you like to do 3 future Michael J. Foxes, all from different messed up timelines? And he was like, yes, I'll do anything. And he did an awesome job.
Yeah. We ended up, as long as this ending was, and it's good for a wrap-up of the season, we actually cut like about 4 other exchanges out of this.
With 4 other characters, right?
Yeah, we had a whole bit explaining, talking about how Jennifer now has a punk haircut.
That's
and, yeah, Biff had a couple other lines, and then Marty's mom was in here, and we had to...
No.
Yeah, the only thing I missed about that was I thought the idea was fun of Jen, like, you know, we sort of gave him the cool version of her in episode 3, and you're like, oh man, she's almost kind of cooler than
regular
the one in the
Jen.
movie, and then it was going to be a chance to sort of get her back to like we've sort of like improved her a bit.
Gives us something to do.
That still would have been kind of sad though,
season.
because she's different forever. She's basically not the same person. I would have been a little...
The McFlys of Hill Valley.
You guys are shrugging.
I
It's not necessarily the game.
She's not that great.
And here's what
Doc
Marty
would-
went through all this for this book.
for a scrapbook.
I remember Myas really, we were always wondering what was going to be the reason, sort of how is it going to come together at the end, and when he started working on this cutscene, I remember him contacting me and going like, oh man, like I really love the McFly book stuff, like it's really heartwarming.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yes.
you for the man who saved me from making the worst mistake of my life.
Yoo-hoo! Dr.
Uh-oh.
And this is the big, because Brett actually consistently throughout the season, Brett Toasty, producer, said Edna's got to have a happy ending, even though she's a crazy pyromaniac, potential fascist. He
obviously reminds him of someone in his family. We don't want to go there.
So we had to give her a happy ending, and there was only a few ways we could do it, and since we just figured, we'll put her together with Kid.
They do sort of belong together.
They sort of belong.
They're kind of equally ruthless.
Yeah.
They cancel each
a way
other
to
out.
further torture Biff.
Yes, because the great thing is Edna now is Biff's stepmom, and in an alternate timeline, Edna turned Biff into a weird zombie guy. So that's cool. I like that. I think Biff turns out a little better because of it.
Walk quietly into the lab and hope.
It's the end of the whole series, or is it?
Yep, it is.
It's the whole end of the season. It's done.
Oh wait.
Oh,
What happened?
some
There's
cinematic
another card.
artist snuck something in on us.
It's another DeLorean. We've got 2 already in the scene.
What are you doing here?
Wait, that's 2 Martys.
Marty, you can't be here.
Your younger self has already seen you.
Oh, right. Bring him along too. This concerns all of us. What do you mean? Does something happen to us?
Do we turn into assholes or something?
Hey, PG language. For those counting, that's 3 DeLoreans.
So Marty 2 is not as good a driver as Marty 1.
Tron Marty.
Tron Marty.
He didn't knock over a garbage can. That's not bad.
Hit a house. I don't know if that's better.
Yeah.
Didn't take it out though.
How can there be
A
two?
lot of neon in the future.
Yeah, really.
It's the Blade Runner.
And this is where we decide to push everything completely over the cliff.
And if you notice, in the background, I snuck in a garbage can sound effect, as if you just kicked it over when walking up. Just for good measure.
Yes. Mad
2
Max
belts.
Marty.
Mad Max
2 belts.
Marines, yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 belts.
The original version of this was going to have a robotic gun arm. But
Yeah. We
It was
decided
my last desperate attempt to get a robotic arm
we were
into
really
this
trying
series.
for that gun.
We were with you until it was a robotic gun arm.
And then, which one's the real one?
If Marty just thinks really hard about not traveling time again, will all 3 of them disappear?
I can't even fathom it. Probably.
Yeah, what about my future and mine?
The future can wait. We've got a present to catch up with.
Oh.
See, there's a message there.
And what is that? What was the final line in homage to?
Thrill me.
Oh, I've totally forgotten what the Mr. So-and-so Thrill Me is an homage to. Some 80s movie, right?
I believe so.
Oh, and now I can't remember. It was obscure.
Okay, and
and that has been the commentary for Back to the Future, Episode 5, Out of Time. Stay tuned sometime in the future. You saw the to be continued on the credits. Who knows? Maybe it will be continued someday.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.